We just finished watching Philadelphia Eagles versus Detroit Lions. Or not Detroit Lions.
Minnesota Vikings.
May as well have been against the Detroit Lions, front office at the very least. Howie Roseman making, I don't even know who the GM in Detroit is, but he
Brad Holmes, bro. You don't know ball, dude. You don't know ball.
I do not know GM names. That is true. Made him look like a fool because DeAndre Swift had the night of his life, and I missed all of it except for like the last. I literally missed all of it, but it was great. I'm sure.
Who do you think looked like the bigger fool, though? The Lions GM for trading him, or his own coach for making Kenny Gainwell the unquestioned workhorse the first week of the season?
I'm gonna assume that was a locker room call. He didn't want to take Gainwell. Like, he's got seniority, so there's a union. I imagine that played some factor into the decision.
Yeah. Do you think this was all orchestrated? Like, where it was like, how can I get the better running back the touches, but not alienate my veteran player? I'll let him have all the touches against the Patriots. We're going to beat them anyway. Yeah. And then we're going to find a way for him to develop some sort of fake injury.
You know what?
Then we can start the season for real in week 2.
We need to launch an inquiry. I would like to know where the Chargers' former trainer is. The one who punctured Tyrod Taylor's lung and put Justin Herbert into the driver's seat to be the best quarterback of all time. Like, that guy, he deserves a medal, and he was probably involved in this decision. Similar outcome. So I don't know if you know this, but your camera or something, your lights went out, or even a power outage. Your flashlight ran out of batteries. I'm not sure what's happening, but you were sitting in the dark.
I'm sitting in the dark?
There you go. Now you're back.
Oh, you know what's happening is I just literally, the light is so tenuous that when I'm on StreamYard talking to you, the background is white, so you see what you see. And then I checked Twitter to go find a tweet, and I have Twitter in dark mode, so that my screen goes black because I'm looking at Twitter. And then it makes that's really unfortunate, because now you're going to be able to tell every time I'm ignoring what you're saying and scrolling on Twitter instead. That's tough. That's like half the podcast.
That is hilarious. And we should get you some lights. That should be Twitter. Something we put in the budget.
I'm on StreamYard.
We're getting lights.
This is really good for the audio listeners, by the way. I'm sure they're very entertained that within the first 3 minutes of this podcast, we're explaining how dark I look on a screen that they're not watching.
Great.
We were talking in the Discord early Sunday, where it was such a roll. I mean, DeAndre Swift's entire career has been a roller coaster, and I'm sure that the roller coaster has not yet stopped. But early Sunday, Rashad Penny is named a healthy inactive. And if you're somehow a person who isn't in the Bulletproof Discord and also doesn't subscribe to Thinking About Thinking and also doesn't follow me on Twitter, but you do listen to this podcast, which can't imagine is a super high percentage of our listeners, then you probably think that I still hate DeAndre Swift, which in a large scale thing, I kind of do. I still have a lot of issues with some of the choices he makes in the run game. But as the people who don't fall into that category would know, I did a pretty hard pivot, especially in seasonal leagues late, where there was this weird thing in August. He used to go at the 6-7 turn in best ball leagues. And then we get all this news. It's Gainwell might be the one, but it's definitely not Penny. It's Gainwell or Swift. And then Swift falls into the 8th. And I was look, the issue with Swift is he's not reliable, but he is explosive. Penny was more interesting because, in theory, he's both explosive and reliable, but he's 27. He's had all these injuries. If all the people that are watching every day say he's cooked, I believe that he's cooked. So if you take him out of the mix, it's him and Gainwell, who is one of the least explosive players in the entire NFL, despite playing behind the best offensive line in the league for his entire career thus far. Had a 0% explosive run rate in 2022. So to me, then it's all right, it's no contest. They're going to have all these open holes. Swift's problems are going to get mitigated. He's going to be the dude. Sunday morning, Penny's in inactive, and I'm feeling myself. I'm thank God. I used to be so stubborn. I used to be stuck in my ways, but now I'm Bayesian. I'm shifting. We got on Swift at the right time. It's going to be a great season. I got him on all these managed teams. And then he scored 2 fantasy points. It was a total backup. And I was I cannot believe this. Like, I could have been trolling Drew so hard right now. I would have been enjoying my life, but I can't because I became one of the Swift slappies that I used to hate. But it all came back tonight. We all got to enjoy rooting for DeAndre Swift in unison. This was the best football game that I've ever seen DeAndre Swift play as a runner. I mean, he didn't really do a whole lot as a receiver in this game. They didn't throw a lot, period, in this game. But as a runner, it was not like Mickey Mouse usage. He wasn't getting all the stuff to the outside. They were legitimately running him between the tackles. In fairness, the Philadelphia Eagles offensive line was absolutely mauling people. So he was definitely running on easy mode. But that's part of the appeal.
I was going to say, to be clear, he is allegedly going to play for the Eagles again.
Right.
Maybe even the rest of the season with that offensive line.
That's part of the appeal, right? Is like, what's his weakness? Well, it's like he struggles a little bit in decision-making, physicality, but you end up in this run scheme where Hurts is doing a lot of the reading on a lot of these zone read carries, and it's kind of point and shoot. And we've seen Miles Sanders, who I think has some of the same deficiencies, have a lot of efficiency in this offense. And Swift did it, and I thought he was great. Like, I can't remember very many carries that he looked indecisive or that he bounced things outside unnecessarily. I thought his best carry the whole game actually got called back by a holding penalty, but there was a linebacker who came in unblocked. First of all, he didn't run right into him. Second of all, instead of immediately bouncing to the outside and giving the defenders a chance to rally, he actually pressed up into the line where he got close to him, and then he jukes him out where the defender doesn't have a chance to actually go and rally. He ends up popping that around the edge. It would have been a 15, 20-yard gain if not for the holding penalty. That was an incredible run. And then he makes a really nice cut on his 43-yard run that sets up his touchdown, where he runs inside, has a one-on-one with the linebacker, or absolutely erases his angle, guts out to the outside immediately, and wins a foot race. He looked explosive. He looked fast. It was just a totally, totally fantastic performance. Obviously comes with the caveat that is with Kenny Gainwell out, but like, I just can't imagine how a coach could see what Gainwell's provided and what Swift has provided and then use Gainwell the way they used him in week 1. Like, he probably has a bigger role than Boston Scott played tonight, but I don't think he's going to have a substantial role.
Yeah, I don't pretend to know what the coaches are going to do most of the time, but I did just say that the coach obviously chose to start Kenneth Gainwell because if not, he would have given away a veteran spot and there would have been a mutiny. Now I am firmly in narrative town and believing that after the Philadelphia Eagles saw DeAndre Swift do what he did, there will be a mutiny if he is not the starting running back going forward. And therefore, I'm just making things up. But I do think that the argument with Swift was that he was always good. And maybe he's not a perfect running back. Most guys aren't. But he does some things exceptionally well, like catch passes, which he did not do tonight, which in part is because the Eagles didn't really pass the football. But anyways, that kind of brings me to the next point. Are the Eagles ever going to pass the friggin' football?
Yeah, it was just, I mean, the Eagles are, I think, a smart team that will just do what the defense dictates that they do, right? I mean, we saw this last year. They would swing wildly from game to game. They'd get in a certain matchup where it was a good run defense and the pass game was open, and they would just throw repeatedly. Like, I remember the Steelers game and the Titans game were examples of that, where they played these pass funnel defenses and they completely just passed on them all day. And similarly, they'll get in spots where if the team isn't stopping the run, they'll just keep running. I mean, they came out actually pretty pass first in this game. I believe their first drive, they had 7 dropbacks. It might have been 6 with one Hurts design run, and only just the one carry for Swift. First 3 drives, really, they were passing it a lot. They weren't having success. And then they had one drive in the second quarter where they just went Swift. He got tired. Scott. And like, the Vikings weren't stopping it. So pretty much the whole second half, they're playing from ahead, and they were able to just pick up 5-6 yards per carry regardless. And yeah, they're going to lean into that. So I think that's always going to be the risk with the Eagles. You're going to have games like this, but you're still going to have games, I think, where they pass it quite aggressively. It just depends on sort of what's available to them, I think.
So they played 2 games so far. One game is 33 pass attempts. One game is 23. That's an average of 28. That is really, 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 really bad.
Played approaching positive game script, like aggressively positive game script in both of those.
And then my question is, are they ever going to not be an aggressive positive game script? They're a pretty good team. And they play on not very good conference.
I think their schedule, I mean, I think that they will a little bit this year. They're clearly going to win a lot of games. But I think that you're going to see some level of regression on them. I mean, I think their defense has already shown some regression. This was a top 5 defense last year. The Vikings moved the ball at will. They scored 28 points in this game, and that's with Justin Jefferson having a fumble through the stupid end zone touchback rule, where if he keeps the ball in his hand for one more inch, then that's another touchdown for the Vikings. They'd be at 35. Mac Jones and the Patriots, who have like probably one of the worst sets of weapons in the whole NFL, they were moving the ball pretty easily. We'll see. It's just not going to happen for a while because their upcoming schedule is Bucs, Commanders, Rams, and then the Jets used to be one of those spots. You might see them playing from behind, probably not anymore. But then keep an eye out. This middle stretch of their schedule: Dolphins, Commanders, Cowboys, Chiefs, Bills, Niners, Cowboys, Seahawks. That's where all the fun's going to happen right there.